Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 5 of Box§Cast. I am Justin,
And I'm Mikko.
and today we're going to be discussing all of the latest Formula One news from the past week. We're going to kick things off. This should be a relatively spoiler-free episode for you guys. I'm sure a lot of you have already heard about all of this news, but we're just going to kind of go over it and say what we think about these things. And we are going to start this off by talking about the possible move by Ross Brawn from Mercedes to an unknown team, or possibly not even to a team. I know on Sky Sports they've been mentioning that he could go to a role in the FIA.
Yeah, of course he's had a long career already in F1. First in, I can't even remember all the teams he's been in, but I think in Benetton and then Ferrari.
Hmm.
And then,
I think Williams for a time as well.
Yeah, and then he took a sabbatical for a couple of years. Then he formed his own team from the remains of Honda, and then that became Mercedes.
That's right.
So, what do you think? Is his time come to retire for?
Well, I don't think it's absolutely necessary. I mean, I don't think it's his time. It's his decision. If it's his time to leave the sport or even move to the FIA for possibly a less stressful role, that's really going to be his decision. It's not going to be because he's incapable of doing the work or because he's not a smart guy anymore. He's still one of the greats. So if he makes the decision, to stop, then it's just going to be because that's, the right decision for him. It's certainly not going to be because he's been underperforming or anything like that. I mean, he's lifted Mercedes from a team that, won a single race last year to a team that's in contention for second place in the championship against Lotus and Ferrari, which are very strong teams. They were battling last year. They were battling with the Saubers and stuff like that. In fact, I don't think they beat Sauber in the Constructors' Championship by very much. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was pretty close in the end.
Yeah, but it seems to me that that's the inevitable is coming for him, because of course they got, well, Niki Lauda is the executive director in the Mercedes group, and then they've got Toto Wolff from Williams, and then they got Paddy Lowe from McLaren, and then they have Aldo Costa from Ferrari, and then they have Bob Bell from Renault. So I think that's plenty of technical people, and I don't know if Braun's strategy has been great this year, so I don't know. Of course, he has that authority as the team principal, but as far as if they need him, I don't know. I think they have plenty of people enough to do that role.
Certainly. Yeah, they could definitely be successful without Ross Brawn. He's not crucial to the team. And as you described it, they are a very top-heavy team at the moment with a lot of different directors and stuff like that. So I can understand that he might be frustrated. And I think you might be right. He it seems like he might have been even kind of watered down at Mercedes because of all the other people around. He's got Nicky working with him and keeping an eye on everything. I mean, Nicky's at almost every single race, if not every single race.
Yeah.
So I could understand him wanting to just kind of be his own boss without having to explain his actions to anyone or anything like that. It would be nice to see him stay around in the sport. Also, I think he could be a massive help to the FIA as well. I think he could be super helpful in that role. But yeah, Mercedes would succeed. He's not a large percent of the team. He's maybe 1 or 2% of that team's total ability, and that's even a pretty big figure if you consider how many people are in the team. So for a single person to be even 1 or 2% of a whole team's performance is pretty impressive. But it wouldn't be disastrous for them at all. It might it might make the difference for 1 or 2 races out of the entire season, something like that. So I don't think it's absolutely crucial. I think it would be nice to see him stay around, or even go to the FIA. I also think it would be nice to see him go to Williams because they seem to be in a bit of a revival, which we're going to talk a little bit more about later. But it would be nice to see him just enjoying himself, and he really doesn't seem all that happy these days when he gets interviewed. He doesn't seem to be enjoying himself quite as much as he used to, maybe.
Yeah, it's kind of strange when I think about all the interviews with Mercedes people. It's when you think about maybe Lotus, it's the drivers, and then there's Eric Bollier who does all the interviews. But when there's an interview with Mercedes, it's either Ross Brawn or Toto Wolff, not Paddy Lowe usually, or just Niki Lauda. So it's kind of strange that it's not in the hands of one people at Mercedes. So I think that's one of the parts of why he's probably not very comfortable at the team at the moment.
Certainly. But yeah, I mean, I would like to see him stick around in Formula One in some sort of fashion. But yeah, I just, he really should do whatever he wants. Of course, Mercedes is based in the UK, so I don't think it's so much about geography or anything like that. I really just think about it's about him doing what he wants to do for the future, and I think he'll be successful no matter what he chooses. So I think there's still a future for Ross Brawn if he decides that, and I'm sure it'll be absolutely fine.
Yeah, I think so too. So another topic that's been very on the how do you say on
in the news?
Yeah. In Finnish, you would say on people's lips. I don't know if that's English term.
Okay. Yeah.
So Kimi, of course, missing the last 2 races at the Austin Grand Prix and in Brazil. You must be bummed not to see him.
Yes, extremely bummed. Yeah, because I'm going to be there this coming Friday for the free practices and stuff, free practice 1 and 2. So yeah, I'm definitely bummed. He's one of the superstars. I mean, I would be bummed from just about any of the world champions, not being able to make the race. If Lewis Hamilton wasn't able to, or honestly, even Vettel. Because if I'm going to go to the track and I'm going to see these cars go around and everything, I want to see the fastest guy out there, even if I don't like him all that much. I would still like to see the current 4-time consecutive world champion doing what he does best. So Alonso as well. I'd be extremely disappointed by Alonso missing a race. So yeah, it's definitely disappointing for me, especially because I was looking forward to seeing him on track this coming Friday. And it's even more of a disappointment for Lotus, though, honestly, because they're in that hunt for second place in the championship, and that's some money that they need more than Mercedes or Ferrari.
Yeah, definitely. And I was reading some comments from Reddit the other day, and I was looking at some thread about Kimi not making it to the last 2 races, and people were really pissed, and they were actually like trying to sell their tickets to the Grand Prix and all that. I mean, they were willing to miss the whole race just because he wasn't there. So I think that's quite crucial for Lotus and F1.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he does have an enormous fan base. Kimi is, I mean, possibly if you go worldwide, he might be the most popular driver on the grid. Certainly Alonso is extremely popular with lots of people. I personally, I rate him as the number 1 driver on the grid. I think he is the complete package. He's just about flawless. Mistakes from Alonso happen maybe once or twice a year. Mm-hmm. Everything else is just bad luck or poor performance from the car. He's a near flawless driver. Certainly Hamilton has a big following as well. He's big on Twitter and stuff like that. And that's even the crazier part if you consider the fact that Kimi's not even on Twitter. He doesn't do any of the social media stuff, and he's got millions, maybe tens of millions of diehard fans worldwide in all countries. Even in America here, in England, in Europe. I mean, Asia. There are Kimi fans absolutely everywhere. I don't think there's been a single race this year where you couldn't see a Finnish flag flying.
Yeah, he's a big figure, and of course the reason why he is missing the last 2 races is because of his back problem that's been affecting him since Singapore. And some sources are saying that he said that his back is so it's so painful for him to even be without medication that he doesn't want to wait any longer for the surgery.
Right.
That was inevitable on the winter break anyway. So
yeah, I kind of imagine that rather than this being a sudden thing, it was more of it, needing to happen sooner rather.
Yeah, and of course, it's kind of a conspiracy theory jackpot, because he of course was at the Ferrari seat fitting last Thursday, so this was a couple of days after that. So somebody's saying that Ferrari doesn't want Lotus to challenge them for second place, and by Kimi missing the last 2 races, that they're playing it safe with Ferrari if they don't do well on the last 2 races, which is kind of a conspiracy theory, and that should be left where it is, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's a crazy sport, but I mean, even if that were true, no one's ever going to find out about it. And I don't think Kimi would do that, to be honest. Kimi just he's got more. He's got more character than that. So I don't think Kimi would do that. Honestly, I wouldn't put it past Ferrari to try to do it, though. I mean, they'll try anything. I mean, they're the only team that tries the slipstream stuff in qualifying at Monza. I mean, they have proven that they will try anything. Certainly, McLaren at one point would try anything, including spying. So, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Crazier things have happened in F1. Certainly, Crashgate in Singapore with Briatore and all of that. So, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility, but it's certainly a stretch. I, really doubt that. Like I said, I doubt that Kimi would do it, even if he was approached about it. But yeah, his health has to come first. It's not like this is his last season. It's not even like next season is going to be his last season. He could be in the sport for a few years to come, and in order to ensure that, he's got to take care of, his health. He's got to stay healthy, take care of his back, do whatever he needs to do. And it's certainly unfortunate for Lotus. I'm definitely a Lotus fan. They are kind of like the underdogs in that top 4 fight this season. They certainly have the least amount of funding out of the top 4 teams, and indeed they have less funding than McLaren, who is performing worse than Lotus is. And it's always nice seeing Lotus succeed because they're a smaller, less funded team, and this is certainly going to hurt their chances. But in all honesty, Romain Grosjean is the one who's been putting in the points for Lotus recently, not Kimi. So it's certainly going to have an effect, but how big of an effect is yet to be seen.
Yeah. On the topic of Lotus being the underdog, I just wanted to show this picture, which shows points related to the funding. If you can get
interesting,
catch my drift. So
Lotus So it's a points to budget ratio, basically.
Yep.
In which actually Lotus is winning. They got a higher ratio than Red Bull or Mercedes or Ferrari. Oh, poor McLaren. McLaren is lower than Force India. That's pretty unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, that's a perfect example actually of just how good Lotus is. I mean, if you think about if they had the same type of funding as Red Bull or Ferrari or Mercedes, they might be absolutely dominant.
Yeah, and they were in the Renault days. Of course,
Right.
they have good facilities and good people. Of course, now everybody's leaving their team because no one's getting paid. But yeah, at least they had a good team at Enstone.
And I think they can bounce back. Certainly, if they get Hulkenberg, I think that's going to be one of the most exciting pairings in F1. Maybe not the best pairing. I think Alonso and Kimi is probably going to be the best pairing in F1. Actually, going to be one of the best pairings in history, even potentially. We'll see how good the car is, but it could be really, really good with Hulkenberg and Grosjean. They're both relatively young drivers. They're both under the age of 30, whereas at Ferrari, both of their superstar drivers are over the age of 30. And experience certainly helps, and that's why I say that the Ferrari pairing is stronger. But to me, that if Lotus picks up Hulkenberg, that's going to be one of the most exciting pairings for me. Because those are two up-and-coming drivers that I think have a long history of racing in Formula One in their future.
Yeah, and then there's of course the question of who's gonna replace him for the last two races.
Yep. The obvious choice is obviously Davide Valsecchi, who is their reserve driver and last year's or 2012's GP2 champion. But he doesn't have a whole lot of experience in an F1 car. I mean, certainly he does have experience, but Lotus is one of those teams that, they're a higher end team, so they don't really give a lot of time for their reserve drivers. You see a lot of reserve drivers going around last year for Williams with Bottas, certainly this year for Caterham and for Marussia. You see a lot of reserve drivers taking over the car for FP1, and you really don't see that with the bigger end teams, and Lotus is really no exception. Valsecchi has had time in the car this year, I believe. Do you know if that's right?
Well, he did some when Kimi was ill in the winter testing. He did maybe half a day before Roman Grosjean got back.
That's right. I remember that now. So yeah, I mean, he has experience in F1 cars, and certainly he is a good racer. He won last year's GP2, and you don't win a championship based purely on luck. So he's got the skills, but I'm not sure he's got the skills to get into the points, even with that strong Lotus. It's an extremely tight field as far as the driver's skill is concerned. The cars might be pretty far off at the moment, especially when you consider Red Bull. But the drivers on the grid, for the most part, are all really, really good. I mean, over half the grid is very experienced with these cars. So, I mean, even if he qualified up in 10th or 9th or 8th, I really couldn't see him actually getting into the points for either of these two races, unless, something happens up at the front.
You have to remember that before he won his GP2 championship, he had already been in the series for 4 years. So he's kind of like Sam Bird in the sense that he's already older and he's kind of a more mature driver. But I don't know if he has the raw speed in F1 per se.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if that would be the way to go. Now, who would be the other options though? What other drivers that aren't already contracted could we potentially see in that Lotus for the last two races?
Well, the Finnish media is already, of course, they want Heikki Kovalainen to get the seat, but I don't know. Heikki's been with the Renault team or the ex-Renault team, the Lotus team now. He's driven for them, of course, in 2007 for a year.
Something like that.
Before he raced for McLaren for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he did pretty well, but I don't know if they really want him back. And I don't know if there's pretty much anyone else that is available. Of course, if Hulkenberg were to drive next year, they could probably ask him, but on the other hand, I don't think Sauber would let him go.
No, they would probably want some really high dollar amounts in order for him to race. Because Sauber, of course, is attempting to catch Force India for sixth place, I think it is
Yeah.
in the championship. So Hulkenberg is an integral part of that battle for the constructors' championship. So I imagine Sauber would probably want the difference in dollars basically between sixth and fifth. So if it's 10 million euros between sixth and fifth, then Sauber would probably want 10 million euros just to get Hulkenberg over to Lotus, or something close to that. Maybe half that or something like that. But I mean, we're talking about millions of euros to just for that for Hulkenberg to drive two races for Lotus. So I'm not sure that's really possible. As far as Heikki is concerned, I do think Heikki would be a better choice than Davide Valsecchi. I think he has a better chance of getting points anyway. He is a race winner, just the one race win, but he's got a lot more experience with these cars, with these drivers even. I mean, he's raced a lot of the guys that are on the grid right now.
Yeah, and didn't he attend the Abu Dhabi practice? He was in FP1 running for Caterham, so he's got experience in the modern F1 car.
Right, exactly. So
This year's
I
car.
think exactly. I think he would be the better choice of those two. But like you said, I don't know who else it could be. I mean, personally, I'd like to see Kamui Kobayashi back in an F1 car, if only for two races, but I really don't see that happening. And, maybe, same with even Bruno Senna. It would be nice to kind of see him come back for a couple of races, but really, I don't see those guys coming back. So, I mean, their options are severely limited. I love Alex Rossi, but I don't think he's a great choice to put into an F1 car for the final two races when you're battling for second and third in the constructors. As far as I can tell, Heikki is the best option. If he even is an option, he's the way that I would go. I no disrespect to Davide Valsecchi. It's just, Heikki's got the experience, he's got the knowledge, and like you said, he's got the recent experience, which is even more important.
Yeah, I think Valsecchi is probably the first choice for Lotus, but I don't know. Yeah, personally, I think they're gonna go with Valsecchi.
Yeah, most likely, I think that is correct. But yeah, I don't think
if
that's
he
going to
does,
be good for their championship.
yeah, if he does terribly in the next race, I think they might consider Heikki more for Brazil.
Yeah, yeah. Or maybe they'll bring back Giancarlo Fisichella or something like that. Or Rubens Barrichello. That'd be nice. Maybe Michael Schumacher. Get Michael Schumacher in for the last couple of races. Maybe he's available.
Yeah, dig up Fangio. At the same time. Okay.
Emerson Fittipaldi.
Yeah.
He's pretty active on Twitter these days. I'm pretty sure he's ready to go. All right. Moving on to the next topic. Daniil Kvyat. Hope that I'm saying that right. So probably very American, but Daniil has obtained his super license, and he's going to be driving the Toro Rosso actually in FP1 this coming Friday. So I will actually be seeing Daniil Kvyat in his first F1 drive, basically, out on a track with other F1 drivers. So I'll definitely be looking to take pictures and stuff. If I see him, I'll certainly maybe try and get his autograph, just because he might be an up-and-coming star. There is a very good chance that he could become huge. He might be amazing. He might be terrible. Who knows? But we'll get a good idea, or a better idea of how good he is coming this Friday.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, at least. Of course, can you remember where he did his test?
Actually, I do not. I do have Autosport open, though. Let's see. At the Misano circuit last Friday. So,
Yeah.
Where is the Misano circuit?
Somewhere in Italy, probably.
Yeah. Simoncelli. Yep, it's an Italian racetrack. Ooh, it looks fun too, actually. It hosted the San Marino Motorcycle Grand Prix Superbike World Championship Formula Renault and FIA sports cars is what it's for. But yeah, he completed the laps that he managed 102 laps, equivalent to around 402 kilometers, according to Autosport.com. And so he now has his super license, which means he can actually go out on the track this Friday. And he'll be mixing it up with the other reserve driver for Caterham, Alex Rossi, of course. And he is one of two possible extremely young Russians to be joining F1's ranks for 2014.
Yeah, we already talked about Sergei Sirotkin, but yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him on track. I hope they got a good car in Toro Rosso as well. Looking forward to seeing him next year.
Interestingly enough, Red Bull have already won the Constructors' Championship, so they don't really need points from either of their drivers. Yet Kvyat is going to be replacing Jean-Eric Vergne in FP1 this coming Friday. Wouldn't you think that it would be smarter to have him replace Ricciardo and then Ricciardo replace Webber for that Friday? That way, Kvyat can get some Toro Rosso experience and Ricciardo can get some Red Bull experience?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if Webber is... I think he might be reluctant to give up his FP1 just a freebie. But I know that Kvyat is replacing Ricciardo in Brazil, so they're kind of splitting the FP1 time.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good at least, because I do like Jean-Eric Vergne. I'm glad he's going to be sticking around for next season. So that pretty much does it for Kvyat. Not a lot to talk about there. He really just got his super license and then got confirmed for the 2 FP1 sessions. But good to see that he got his super license. No problems there, at least. Next topic that we want to talk about is the Massa move to Williams, which I actually predicted in the first or second episode of the Box$Cast. It wasn't so much a prediction as a hope, though. I just kind of hoped it would happen. But it has now been confirmed. And actually, a few days ago, I think it was you that linked me a picture showing that Felipe Massa was following Valtteri Bottas on Twitter, right? That was you? Yeah. So I guess that was a little bit of foreshadowing of what's to come.
Yeah, I'm personally quite glad to see him in another team for a long time now. He's of course been with Ferrari since 2006. So yeah, I hope he can lift that team a little bit up for next year. Hope they'll be performing better. And actually I really dislike Maldonado, so whoever's Bottas's teammate next year it's fine by me. Massa is really a really fun guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's a great driver. He's won many races. He's almost won a championship even. And just like you said, he should be able to really lift up that Williams team. Not even just technically, but also spiritually. I mean, I think he's really going to help revitalize that team into the race-winning team that it once was, the championship-winning team that it once was. I'm not saying that he's going to win a championship, but he's going to help them get back at least a little bit closer to the way that team used to be. And I'm really looking forward to his pairing with Bottas. I think that's also a really exciting pairing. You got someone that has an immense amount of experience, someone who's quite new but is showing lots of talent. And I think Bottas can learn a lot from Massa.
Yeah, I think so too. And on the topic of Valtteri Bottas, he of course is also he signed his contract, or it's now official that he will drive next year.
Good, yeah, good to see, yeah, because I think he's, a good rookie. Esteban Gutierrez, I'm still kind of on the fence about. I rate Bottas higher than Gutierrez, even though Gutierrez has scored points this year and Bottas hasn't. Bottas, of course, had that amazing qualifying in Canada where he qualified third out of nowhere. Just really surprised everyone, even the drivers and everything. I think he surprised himself even a little bit with that one. But yeah, I think that's going to be really good for them. I haven't seen any confirmation about Smedley going to Williams in the wake of all of this information about Massa. Have you heard anything about Smedley and Williams or anything?
No, I haven't. But Claire Williams said that this is one of their announcements in a longer series of announcements. So they'll probably be announcing a lot of things. Of course, they'll be losing PDVSA from Venezuela. So, but I think they might be announcing some Brazilian sponsors, maybe Petrobras, which is of course another huge oil company.
Yep, former Sauber sponsors, I think.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, and yeah, maybe Smedley. Who knows?
Yeah. I think that would be awesome. I love the pairing of Massa and Smedley. Their history together is it's amazing. There's tons of YouTube videos out there of the two of them. I mean, they're absolutely amazing. I think one of the best engineer driver combos on the grid, if not the best. I do like Alonso and his race engineer, though. His engineer's got that awesome Italian accent, but Smedley's just fantastic. He's a great guy. Just a really good guy. He's also good at doing his job, but he's got good qualities about him as well. So really good to see Massa going to Williams. Very excited for his pairing with Bottas. And on that topic, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that might be the shortest pairing in F1 for 2014. They're both really, really tiny.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know. I don't know the measurements per se, but I know they're both pretty short.
Yeah, they're both really short guys. So I think that might actually be the lowest weight pairing of 2014. The two of them. So that might be good things for Williams. All right. So last topic is, of course, just announced earlier, not official yet, but it's looking like Magnussen is going to be replacing Perez at McLaren.
Yeah, we already probably mentioned this in the last podcast. I'm not sure, maybe not actually, but yeah, of course, Kevin Magnussen, one of the McLaren
young drivers,
young drivers, who of course won that Renault 3.5 title this year, and then there's of course Stefan van Dorn, who's also. He's probably gonna go to GP2, but yeah, but we'll see about Magnussen if that's gonna be official in the next couple of days or next couple of weeks.
Sounds official so far.
Yeah, that's from BBC now. The news coming now. So they. Andrew Benson usually isn't full of shit.
Yeah, he usually knows what he's talking about from what you told me. So, and generally these days, rumors usually are true. Is just kind of something that I've noticed recently. A lot of the rumors, anyway. Certainly not all of them, obviously. Not all rumors are true, but these days, when a rumor starts spreading, it's usually because there's some sort of truth behind it. So I'm kind of mentally preparing myself for Perez to leave McLaren. The article that you linked me, I think, said that he might be going back to Force India, or not back. He might be going to Force India. Which would be his third team in Formula One. So he's pulling a Hulkenberg here and just kind of going all around the place. So I really hope it's not the end of his career. Obviously, I rate Perez very highly. I think he's on the same level as Grosjean and Hulkenberg and the other guys that are of similar kind of experience. Really, of those drivers that are kind of in that midfield area. I'd say Maldonado is probably the worst. I would rate Di Resta lower than Grosjean or Perez or Hulkenberg. Sutil as well, I would rate a little bit lower, but I really hope it's not the end of his career. Honestly, I'm hoping that this rumor turns out to be wrong, but I don't think that's going to be the case. So I think it's very likely that we'll see Magnussen pairing Button for 2014. The good news is Magnussen does have very good one-lap pace, which is what or not the only thing, but it's one of the many things that McLaren has been missing this year. With Hamilton's departure in 2013, they lost that one-lap pace, that pole position potential that they had with Lewis. Sergio and Jensen, neither one of them is very good at one-lap pace. And that was one of the things that they were criticized for when they signed Perez, was that they were basically signing another Button. Someone who's not great at qualifying but does pretty well in the race. But Magnussen could help. He could be amazing. I do like McLaren as a team. I will continue to like them even without Perez. How do you feel about it? Do you think Perez deserves a second year? Do you think Magnussen would be an improvement? I mean, it's hard to predict if he's going to be an improvement, but do you think Perez should have been kept for next year?
I don't know. I think Perez, when he got signed to McLaren, I think it was kind of a hasty call from McLaren, because there was all kind of driver movements happening around that time. And of course Perez was performing quite well, but after he got signed, his performance went down, and on this year he has almost just half the points of Button, so it's kind of hard to judge because of that really bad car, that how good he really is. But I don't see him as a future superstar per se.
I think he could be. I think he may have been brought to a high-end team a little bit early. He was only 22 when McLaren signed him, and Magnussen I think is even younger than that, possibly. I'm not sure how old Magnussen is, but I think he would do a lot better next year. He came into this brand new team that's at the pinnacle of motorsport, one of the most highly decorated and respected motorsport teams of all time. And people were very critical of him even before the season started. And it actually seems like attitude has kind of shifted. A lot of the stuff I read about on forums and on Twitter and stuff like that, a lot of people are actually defending Perez these days. Whereas at the beginning of the season, they were really criticizing McLaren for their decision to pick Perez. So I think he kind of swayed some people, but clearly he didn't sway the people that mattered, which is McLaren. And I do think that part of it might be that McLaren, they might just be kind of looking for a scapegoat. I think they're trying to say, it was Perez. Perez was the reason that the season didn't go so well. But even if Perez outscored Jensen, they would still be in the same position that they're in right now. The car just wasn't there. So I think he would improve in 2014. I think he could have won a race or two or three, something like that. I think he could have been a contender, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes. But I would like to see him stick around in the sport, because I do think that he has a future in the sport. So I'm hoping that he stays around. He is my favorite driver, of course, but we'll see how that goes. It's certainly not going to make or break Formula One for me. If Perez gets the boot, I'll find another driver to like. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, I think part of the reason why they're going with Magnussen is he has a background because of his dad, who's also been a McLaren driver.
Right.
So I think he has that racing pedigree, whereas Perez might not have that.
Yeah, absolutely. Respect. Well, we tried to make this episode a little bit shorter for you guys to see if you like it, but it's actually only ended up being about 5 minutes shorter. But let us know in the comments, guys, if you would like these Box$Casts to be shorter, if you'd like them to be longer, if you like them at the length that they currently are. We'd like to get some feedback from you guys, just letting us know what sort of improvements you'd like to see, or what changes you'd like to see, if any. Or if you just like it the way it is, let us know. But that's going to do it for this episode. Join us next week, where we'll be discussing the U.S. Grand Prix and an undecided second topic.
Yep. We'll see you then.